Hi, Take the Leap listeners. Thanks for putting Ashlan and I in your ears again today. Before we jump into this episode, we wanted to let you know that we've created a fun freebie just for you. If you've been thinking about launching your side gig or small business, we've got a free video training just for that called 9 Steps to Launch Your Business. You can sign up for that video now at www.taketheleap-today.com/webinar to get instant access. You'll also receive 2 free modules from our signature Take the Leap course. Thanks, and now back to the episode.
Take the Leap is the podcast where we get real about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and life. Sure, some folks make running a business look like a walk in the park, but let's be honest, it's more like a wild ride through a theme park with a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Join us, your co-hosts, Ashlan
and Tori,
as we spill the beans on our own real-life experiences and shine a spotlight on some amazing guests. From the highs of success stories to the lows of epic failures. And hey, we'll even throw in some cringe-worthy, laugh-out-loud, embarrassing moments for good measure.
So buckle up and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for a dose of raw, unfiltered truth about what it's really like to chase your dreams and build a business.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the startup world, we've got something for everyone. Even if it's just to make you think, wow, I'm glad I didn't do what they did.
Hello, and welcome back to Take the Leap. For those of you who are watching on our YouTube page, you will notice that Ashlan and I are sitting next to each other. It's always a treat when we get to do things in person. Yeah. We see each other a lot via our laptops. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice.
I know.
Change.
To be in space with
yes,
you.
I know.
Physical space.
I know. Sitting here in my office behind my desk. Yeah. And yeah, it's great. Yeah. Happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
Thank you.
I know you've worked very hard making sure it's clean.
It's the only room in my house that is this clean. And also I was procrastinating this week, and my theory was that if I decluttered my office, then I could declutter my
Everything
mind.
Else. Yeah.
Listeners, viewers, I cannot say if that actually worked or not because
it's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start. Yeah. So I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy that we are together for this because we've decided that this is going to be a fun episode where we do our own Take the Leap stories. Yeah. We really haven't done that. Kind of.
We did it in the beginning, but we really didn't do it interview style, the way that we do with our guests.
Yeah. So we're gonna do that today, and we're just gonna dive in. So, Ashlan, what is your Take the Leap story?
It's funny because I really didn't plan on becoming an entrepreneur. I kept hearing from people, do you know somebody who does whatever weird marketing thing it is that they need? And so it was that third or fourth person where I was like, I can do that. And then I said, would your mom hire me to do that? Because it was a colleague, a coworker who, her mom is a abstract artist by night and a psychotherapist by day, and she doesn't believe that the two have anything to do with each other, which I don't believe her for 1 second. But she wanted to understand better how she could sell her art through Instagram, and so I started a business, and I still have that PowerPoint deck. Basically, I did a whole slide deck on how she could sell her abstract art online. And then, she was like, hey, how much would this cost to hire you? And she was just like, I'm not there yet, but maybe someday, I'll be able to hire you. And that was kind of the end of it. And then 2 weeks later, GoDaddy decided that it was no longer going to support her website. So she reached back out to me and she was like, hey, can you help me rebuild my website on another platform? And so she came back as a client. I built her a website, and then the rest is history. I started doing market research calls, just like we teach you how to do in the course. And then my very next client, at the end of the market research call, she asked me, hey, do you want to do this marketing and communications work for us? And I was like, yes, I do. And so that's how I got my first client, like my first long-term client, who is still with me today. And then she helped introduce me to my next one. And the rest is history. I just slowly started building it until 15 months in, I was making enough money to take the leap. And we were still doing the beta of the course, I think.
Yep.
And I hadn't even actually officially gone all in. So yeah, that was May of 2022 that I finally was done with full-time work anywhere else and full-time in my business.
That's
So,
incredible.
yeah.
I'm so proud of you too, like seeing like how far you've come in such like a short amount of time too, if you think about it, really.
Yeah.
Like I remember because it was 2022 that we were doing the first round of our course, and you were freelancing on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was, probably around May or whenever it was that you did that, and you told me, you're like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take the leap. I'm just going to do it. And I mean, look how far you've come since then. You've done a lot. You're incredible.
Aw, thank you. You are too. So no tea, no shade. I would not have been able to do this without your support and your help.
Aww.
And like those conversations. I mean, what you and Justin were like traveling. We started doing the accountability thing. Mm-hmm. You were traveling in the travel trailer and like going everywhere. And I was like, dude, I'm fucking jealous. I want to be able to do something like this with my life. And so, yeah, I think it was through our talking to each other all the time. And I was like, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Like we can totally do this and be on our own and not have to work for anybody else. And so, yeah, it inspired me to be okay with.
Okay, we're gonna do lots of hugs throughout this episode. So if you're just listening, like this is a hugging moment. Well, I love to like just seeing like the change in you as a person too, like from like when you were working full time elsewhere to now, like. It's been really cool to see like how happy you are, like how excited you are about your clients and your work that you're doing. Because I know that we would get together like before we even like thought of Take the Leap or before we even thought of freelancing or doing anything like that. We were getting together just because we were both in marketing.
Yeah.
And we were both in the same industry. We were both actually working with nonprofits. Yeah. And we would get together because like there were just a lot of struggles that we were dealing with as being the full-time employees at these nonprofits.
And being parts of small teams or the only Marcom person on the team and being like, what do you do when you have to do literally everything?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And I think I also saw a different trajectory for my future as well. And I think it got to a point where I was like, oh, we can do things differently on our own terms. So like watching you go through that was really cool too. Like going through like that same thing around the same time that I did. Yep. And it's been really cool to have you. You're definitely my biz bestie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, well, I'm really proud of you. That's like, it's a really incredible story. And I want to know, what piece of advice would you give yourself knowing what you know now? What would you say to younger Ashlan?
Oh my gosh. Charge more out the gate. Like just charge more and people will respect that. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's just like so much advice. Also watch your numbers and watch your money. And, you know, like I did a lot of stuff because money was there. And we've had people in this season and past seasons who are like, you know, save for the times where it is going to be the famine. Like it is not always going to be the feast moment. And especially now with what nonprofits are going through, I guess we'll find out next week, but I have a client who they're closing their doors at the end of this month. They've had a really intentional wind down. They've done kind of all the things that you should do. And I'm very, very proud of them for how they chose to close and things. And then I have another client who is thinking about it. And actually by the time this episode comes out, we will have moved to an all volunteer run organization just because the reality of nonprofit work and space right now is tough.
Yeah.
And I think, with the federal funding and with, pending, everything that is happening in the United States, pending like people going through a recession, not being able to live, cost of living going up in a lot of places, like there also isn't that balance of what happens when the federal government doesn't give money and the people that you normally rely on for donations also don't have money. Like it leaves nonprofits in a huge lurch, and they're doing a lot of things that honestly our government probably should provide for us.
Yeah,
that aren't things like that aren't things that the for-profit sector will provide because there's no money in it. Like either there's no money in it or nobody really wants to do it to that level, and then things that the government should provide as a safety net. So yeah, I have a huge heart for what nonprofits do to support folks in our country right now.
Absolutely. It's such a huge responsibility that you're right, shouldn't all exist solely on their shoulders. But what an intentional way, like you've been sharing some stories behind the scenes about that, what an intentional way to do that. There's so many places that are not intentionally closing and just like, okay, totally. We give up and, like not taking care of their people and stuff like that. So like what a cool thing to be able to say that they are intentionally doing that and going more towards a volunteer-based situation, which still is, rough.
It's how you're gonna weather the storm until we figure out what's on the other side, honestly. And
it's a good reminder too, because not just nonprofits, but like there's so much out of your control as an entrepreneur. Like regardless of the administration and the things that are happening in our economy, like in a couple of years from now it could be completely different, but like there's still no way that we can predict what that means, how that's going to impact your business specifically. Your industry could change, if you're in a high-tech industry, if you're in like it totally like I think COVID, if nothing else, taught us that everything that you thought was safe is definitely not. Like think about all the like event spaces, like events were kind of like the safe industry to be in, and then all of a sudden
be events.
Exactly. And so I think it's just a good reminder that as an entrepreneur and just as a person living life in general, as a human being on this planet, there are just things that you cannot predict. And there are things that you're just always going to have to evolve and pivot, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you. And that actually means that, if you can figure out ways to pivot and evolve, that makes you a better entrepreneur in the long run.
And I've been watching so many like post-apocalyptic shows, like shout out to Mary and The Last of Us, because we're in the second season, and she had her whole School of Moxie podcast about the first season. But we could go into something like that. There could be no internet, and then we'd be fucked. We'd be out of jobs. So, we'd have to quickly pivot and figure out what the heck we were doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, we'd have a lot of those same skill sets that would probably keep us alive. I would like to think.
Anyway, the community building aspects. Like you have a thing that I need, and I have a thing that you need, and let's go in on this together.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the whole point of it, right? It's like utilizing your skills and figuring out what you're good at, and going from there.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. That's a really good answer. Well, wrapping up with the last question of our normal interview process here. What is your why?
So we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. My sister passed away, died by suicide, when she was 22. And at the time, I was probably getting drunk too often. And I had this is right around the time I met you. So really? I started volunteering again for the American Marketing Association.
Okay.
And this is when I learned about Betty's, and I was in that program that like connected us, I think, for the very first time. So I was just like, oh my God, I need to do something with my life other than drink and like party. You know, I was done with school. I was like trying to build a career, and I wasn't getting anywhere in the job that I was in. And I was just like, okay, have to start networking, have to start going to things, and I was just like, and I have to do something with my life. And really the big nudge was my sister passing away and me being like, oh my God, I can't work in for-profit anymore. I need to do something with nonprofits. And I got paired with Betty's 360, which was the youth after school program for middle school kids, which is around the time that I saw my sister start to struggle, was around middle school, and like not really. And I think that was around the time my parents' marriage was rocky beforehand anyway, but like that was when it got like super, super bad. And that was around the time that I like left. I like moved out of their house and I was like away from my siblings. And so I was just like, I am here for more than just, you know, like basically like go to work, get drunk, sleep, go to work again. And like, I do not know how I kept employed at this place. I mean, I probably showed up hungover more days than I should have ever. And they were like, I remember years later, I went back to their office and they were like, you know what? We never said anything because even though you looked so miserable, you worked your ass off.
Oh my gosh.
Through the hangovers. And so they're like, we couldn't complain because you got stuff done. And I was like, oh my God. Here I was thinking I was hiding this, you know, so well. But yeah, that was my why. It was just like being about something bigger, being able to use my skills to help out. And, you know, like, again, I focus on nonprofits and then also like small business owners who are trying to have like a bigger impact. So like, not that I don't work with for-profits, but I try to work with business owners who are trying to do like some sort of good in purpose-driven, organizations and helping the people who marketing does not come second nature to them, and they need or they want somebody who's going to respect them, teach them a little bit, and not like, you know, you've definitely been around those marketers who are just like, you don't know that, why don't you know, you know, like they kind of like use their knowledge to like shame you, and it's just like, no, that's not what this is about. It's helping empower folks to understand marketing and like human behavior and why people buy. And it's always fascinated me, like, because I mean, I think overall it's about making that connection with people. Like, people will become raving fans of things because they have some sort of either connection to mission or you know, they really like learn to love these products that they need, that they want and need in the world. And so yeah, I try to just make that magic happen for folks so that they can live a life that they feel is, you know, fruitful, productive, and is doing good in the world, and not just, you know, the capitalist like must make and earn more money,
right,
and be unhappy. So
you could definitely tell that you're in the right field, like how passionate you are. And it's true. It's I feel like with big corporations, they already have the marketing power behind them, right? Like they already have the people, they already have the degrees, they have the big paychecks, and that's great. The people who need the marketing the most don't often have access to it. They don't have big marketing teams that they can work with. They don't have the budgets to work with big agencies. And so I do feel like there is a need for people like us who go into small businesses and purpose-driven businesses, and it just feels better at the end of the day.
Yeah, like yesterday, was that yesterday? That was yesterday. I have a new client who I just signed on. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna take a sip.
Get some drink here. I'll take a sip too.
She's a wedding and an events planner, and like, you know, she doesn't love her website right now. And I just spent an hour interviewing her and like asking her a bunch of questions, and I'm going to use that interview that I did with her to write her web copy. And, you know, and so much came out of that conversation that she didn't even think about to put on her website. But I was like, we need to figure out how to make you show up on there, because clearly like she's got amazing reviews and testimonials. But you know, we have a hard time bragging on ourselves when it's about our business. And I love to be able to like have those moments with clients and like have those big ahas that they're like, wow, this is a lot easier than I made it, seem to be.
Right.
And then I also reflect back to them. I was like, I have a shit hard time doing my own marketing.
Yeah.
But I love doing this for you all because it's like the magic. So I have to figure out that for myself. But it is fun to do for others. And because you do yours, you do it. And you do ours for Take the Leap so well.
Thank you.
So impressed.
Thank you.
So
there are some days where I'm like not feeling super creative. I'm like, I hope Ashlan doesn't judge this one. Nope. But you never do because you're so sweet.
Because you're doing it and I didn't have to do it.
I love that. And that's a really good why. I love that whole response. So you can definitely tell you're in it and you're in the place that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I will work all the time because I love what I do. Like it just, I know that my husband, sometimes judges how much I'm working and how hard I'm working, but he's just like, but you don't complain about it. I was like, yeah, I used to complain all the time when I worked other places.
But now you love it.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's different.
It's different when you get to decide what you're doing versus, when you're told to work 60 hours a week.
Totally. On shit that you didn't even want to do. That is stupid and doesn't, doesn't actually.
We could go off on like a huge tangent about all the things that we were told to do that we didn't want to do, that we knew wouldn't make a difference, that we knew weren't going to, like, we would stand up and say, this isn't going to work. And then they would say, nope, you got to do it.
The amount of time that I've worked on projects that like never got completed.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really glad that I worked on that. And then, I get really irritated when they would when you do the performance review things and they're like, make 5 goals. And I'm like, what do you want my goals to be? Because whatever 5 things that I want to work on, you're never going to make space for me to do that.
Right.
And then you get great, there was one year that I was so pissed because I was just like, I didn't get any of these done because you had me do these, and I ended up writing it in the comments or whatever. And my immediate supervisor graded me down because I didn't get any of the 5 things, but then I got other bunch of stuff done. And the person above them actually gave me a better rating because they're like, she worked on all this shit that you told her to do.
Yeah.
You can't judge based on that. So if you were managing a team and you have stuff that you want them to do, if you're making them make goals, make sure that you're green light, removing barriers so that they can actually do those.
That's literally your job as a manager.
Exactly.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you have a team beneath you, keep that in mind. Figure out, for some of the reasons that you went into entrepreneurship, figure out some of those things that made you unhappy while you were working for someone else, and figure out how to make your team better. Yeah, it's good thing to remember, because I feel like we get stuck in our own heads as entrepreneurs and we get stuck in our own ways, but it's if you're going to hire a team, you can't, don't keep that cycle going.
Totally. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So
my turn.
Yes, your turn. What is your Take the Leap story?
So that's a great question. So I think we have to jump back a few years before I actually took the leap, because it's kind of what sparked it. Yeah. So I've always kind of in the back of my head thought it would be cool to run my own business one day, but I never really knew what that would look like or what that would be. But my mom's an entrepreneur. I mean, she had her own practice for many years. She still does, actually. She still does. She is retiring. Yeah, she's close to retirement, but she's had her main practice for many years. They just celebrated 20 years, actually.
Yay! Oh, so cool.
But anyway, so my goal was to first build my career and get a lot of experience, work my way up, have my dream job. And then in the back of my head, I was like, then I'll have it all figured out. So then obviously I can start my own company at that point, And I was doing that in a corporate setting. And I lost my job. They were going through layoffs, and this was well before COVID. They were going through layoffs, and I was on the chopping block along with many other people because I was pretty low on the bottom of the totem pole, and they didn't really see a need for my position. And I really took that personally. And, you know, I think a lot of people probably do when they lose their jobs like that. But I really felt like I had put so much of my value and my worth into my work. And I worked so hard, even though I didn't get paid very much. And I had also just asked for, like, I did a full presentation on why I should be given a higher position with higher pay and what I could do for them. Like, I used numbers. I'm really proud of that presentation. And I ended up getting laid off. So that was really hard for me. And in that interim between jobs, I eventually got a job working for a nonprofit, worked my way up, became the director of marketing, and had like my dream job on paper. But in that interim, I started freelancing for extra money while I was looking for a full-time position, because it did take me probably about 5-6 months to find a full-time job. Yeah. So I was doing some freelancing work. And at that time, I was thinking in my head, you know, this is kind of fun. Like, I could do this for like a few different companies. So anyway, fast forward, I found kind of what I thought on paper was my dream job. Spoiler, it was not. It was on paper, yes. I had the title. I did not have the pay because it was a nonprofit. And my body was literally shutting down. Like, I was so stressed.
You were very stressed at that job. I remember, because that's when we started the monthly, like, accountability stuff. And what the fuck do we do in these like nonprofits that are killing us? Inside?
It really was. And I love the nonprofit and the work that they did. And I, to be clear, I like still have connections there, and I still wish them well. But I was responsible for so many things, and honestly, I was managing things that I had no business managing. And it got to a point where I was having some health issues. I knew I was going to be getting married soon. I wasn't quite engaged yet, but I was almost there. And I knew that we wanted to have kids soon. And I just kept thinking, I don't know that I can continue to work like this if it's going to keep doing this to my body. And I need to find a way to still enjoy what I do without literally killing myself. Otherwise, what's the point of all of this? And so then in 2020, I started freelancing. I officially opened my business and started freelancing on the side. And of course, 2020 is the year that COVID hit. And I'm not going to say that COVID was a silver lining in any way, because it was not. It was awful. But in terms of me being able to start a business like this, it happened I benefited from it. It happened at a really good time for me, in terms of, like, I think one of my biggest fears was like, okay, I can do freelancing on the side, but can I work from home full time and stay focused? Can I actually get things done? Can I actually get new clients? And being at home and working from home, being forced to do that, was like, yep, check, you did it. You're great. And it also just kind of gave me some time back in my day. So I'm not saying like I, took hours from my job or anything, but like I was a salaried employee. I got my work done.
Right.
And then I would work on other people's projects. And then I would like go to the freaking dentist and pick up we weren't really going to the dentist, were we then?
No.
So what was I doing? I was going to the grocery store. I was getting like stuff done, and I was like actually closing my laptop at the end of the day and like having dinner and enjoying it and like having a really great evening with my husband, or my boyfriend at the time, now husband. And so that was my really long-winded way of saying, like, 2020 really showed me that I could do it. And so in 2021, basically all the money I made as a freelancer on the side, I just kept it in the business bank account as like my nest egg. And then in 2021, I officially quit my full-time job and went out on my own full-time, which was around the same time
I started. And I was like, Tori, I want to know how you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like I think it was the beginning of the year.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I got pregnant shortly after.
Yeah.
It was like February, March when I got pregnant.
Because I do think like when things sort of opened up again I do remember seeing your engagement ring. Like me, you and Jessica were like we were sitting outside somewhere because it was like COVID safe again to like huddle in groups. And we had some dinner or something like that. And you were like, look, I got engaged.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Jessica. I haven't talked to Jessica in forever.
I actually
need to send her a message.
Yeah. I know we should Zoom get that crew together again.
That would be really fun.
Yeah. Because like I haven't talked to Erica in a really long time, and like I know we'll have Marka on again. But yeah, what a fun little group.
It was really fun.
It was a really fun group. But anyways, yeah.
Anyways, side note. Yeah. So all of that, like it was a weird journey. I felt like it wasn't the normal journey that people take, but I'm starting to realize through all of our interviews and all of our connections, like nobody has a normal.
There's no normal.
Yeah. It's all the business books you read from white men who had a trust fund and started their businesses that way. That's not how this happens.
So you're like, I have rental properties, so I don't have to worry about where my money comes from. Kind of thing.
No, there's no standard way to start a business anymore. It's every single person has their own journey. And I definitely have gone through a journey, and I'm still going through it. We talked about this before the podcast started. Like I am having a weird year in my business, and a lot of people are. There's
a lot of fear.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear
in this year, and you know, and I've noticed the folks who are working with me right now, it's because they don't want to believe that it's going to fall apart.
Right.
You know, they're like,
they want to have hope
they want to be able to continue. And so,
and not everybody's there yet. So it's it's a weird environment that we're in, a weird industry that we're in at the moment. And, you know, I'm learning to pivot a little bit, and I'm learning to change my offerings a little bit and just kind of figure it out as I go. And next year is probably going to be completely different. Last year was completely different. So I think that just goes to say, like, as soon as you jump and take the leap, you can't necessarily expect that every year is going to be more financially successful than the other. Just because your year isn't as financially successful as it was the previous year also is not an indicator that you're failing or not successful. Sometimes you just have a pivot or a change, and that might impact you slightly financially, but set you up in the future for the long run. And so I think there's just so many factors that you just can't predict.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much external. Like, nothing is this, you know, like if we use COVID as an example, right? The conditions are not the same for what made our businesses successful, right? Those first few years. There's not the ARPA funding. Like there's not all this like COVID money that all the many nonprofits got, you know, like there's not, what is that called? The PPP loans and stuff like that. Like there's just less money that people are able to access, you know, because of the government funding federal freezes. And there's less just other, you know, like it creates more competition for other things, like, you know, out there as well. So you can't expect the same, like, I think of it as in like scientific experiments where you have like the control and then like the experiment or whatever. We don't have a controlled environment where we can expect the same thing to happen.
Right.
Everything is different. Everything is changing. People's minds are changing about how they want to do different things. And so, I think, you know, we're also experiencing something so totally different. Like if you did, I've heard of people being like, okay, entrepreneurship's not working. I'm going to go jump back into like full-time employment. Well, there's a lot of places that are laying off. So it's like, you can either try to keep making this work, and there's no guarantees that you can go back and get your old JOB job or like a similar job.
Right.
Because there's a lot of layoffs right now.
The market in general, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're searching for a full-time job, it's just very chaotic at the moment, just like everything else is at the moment. And I don't feel like there's any safe spaces anymore. Like you used to be able to say that government jobs were like the safest
I
of
know,
jobs, and now it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think if you're looking for safety and consistency, typically I would tell you that being an entrepreneur probably isn't for you. However, I don't know, maybe now.
At least you get control of your destiny.
Exactly.
Honestly, you are not beholden to somebody else. Because
Exactly.
you could be the best worker in the world, but when brass tacks comes down to numbers, you know, I mean, me as somebody personally who had to lay off people, I was like, it's between you or me, and the business doesn't exist without me. So that is where we had to go with it.
Exactly.
Which is tough.
It is really tough. But it also just like I said, when a few years before I even launched my business, when I was laid off, like even in that situation, I thought that I was safe because one, I was needed. I was very much needed.
The only person with that job title.
The only person with that job title. I was very much needed. I worked very hard to prove my worth. And they still laid me off. So I think at the end of the day, having control over what you do, even if it doesn't pan out the way you thought it would, or even if you, quote, fail, I just feel like having that control, at least to me, feels so much better.
Yeah. At least you can know that you can do something about it.
Yeah.
Instead of being stuck and in the uncertainty of it, too.
Absolutely. So, awesome. I love that.
All right. Tori, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you started, knowing what you do now?
Well, I do love your first initial response, which was charge more. So, that's definitely there. But I also, in addition to that, one thing I've been thinking about is I wish I would have gotten more things in writing. I was really bad. And I told myself the same lie that many others tell themselves, that I try to talk clients out of telling themselves now to this day, which was, oh, well, we shook on it, or I trust them, they're a friend, or they're somebody that I've known for a while. I know they'll pay me. I know that, whatever. But I think having contracts, having very clearly laid out expectations, and not just around money and when you're going to be paid and the timeline of that, but also around what's expected of you, what's expected of them, really saves a lot of hurt in the long run. I now do that, but before, it took me several years and several hiccups to finally say, I need to change my systems. I need to change my processes. And honestly, Ashlan, you came in clutch and helped me with my contracts and my proposals, because I really was just winging it before then. So that's what I would tell you. I would get it in writing.
Dotted line. Yeah.
Get it in writing. Doesn't matter what kind of a business you run or what you do, any sort of agreement, adding an employee, going into a partnership with someone, collaborating, it doesn't matter what it is. Get it in writing.
Yeah. Peace of mind, too.
Yeah.
It gives both sides.
We have one.
We do have one.
We probably should update it.
I know,
because we did it several years ago.
Yeah, we did it back in 2022.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. And we've never had any issues.
No. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. But it's nice to know, we talked about everything. We were like, who's responsible for this? What happens if this doesn't happen? Yeah. And it's been great.
Also, we have good communication.
Yeah.
I feel like
that's another important piece. That's a need, necessary.
And not feeling bad.
Yeah.
When you have to
exactly.
When you have to say, I can't get to that, or we need to figure something different out.
Exactly. And I've also since partnered with other people on projects with clients, and I've actually taken our agreement and adjusted it. Yeah. So that it was great. It worked for so many different things.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, last one before we do hot seats for each other. What's your why?
That's a great question. So my why has evolved. But honestly, the baseline of it, I think, has stayed pretty consistent. I think, kind of like I'd said earlier, I was recognizing that my body was not doing well, my health was not doing well, and I could not sustain working the way that I was working. And so I think the drive, my why when I first opened my business was to get my life back, to get my health back, to just enjoy myself again.
Yeah.
But I'd always also thought about like, okay, I met someone, I'm gonna create a family. Like, this is what I actually care about. Everything else kind of comes second. And so, and now that we have a kid, like that's true. Like my why is to build a business to give myself the freedom to make a life for my family that I want to live with them, you know? And then I think the secondary why, kind of like what you were saying, was I love what I do. I love connecting with people. I love learning their stories. I love helping them make a difference. I love seeing that spark when they're like, oh, now I know how to like present myself. Now I know how to show up. Now I know how to do this. This is so exciting. Like, I've been really so focused on this piece and I've been so stressed. Like, and then you just like open my eyes to this, like, and now I can go and make a bigger difference. And I think that's the other piece to this, where it's like, I love what I do and I want to do it in a way that like actually helps other people to do the same, so that they can build businesses to live their own lives and support their families and support their communities. And so, you know, when I was working for a big corporation, I was just helping them sell more things and get even richer. And they laid me off because they didn't think I was valuable. And so, you know, like at the end of the day, I love knowing that I'm using my skills to help other people make their own lives better too.
Well, imagine how much more amplified our impact is too. Like, how many more clients we've gotten to work with than the number of jobs we could have held.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's, you know, I think that just shows so much more value that we can bring in the world too.
Agreed.
As well.
Agreed. Are we going to do the hot seat question?
I think we should.
I'm really excited.
I'm really excited.
Okay. So I will kick off with my favorite question. What is your best and or worst advice that you've received in your career?
Gosh. Okay, so sorry. That's okay. We got some puppy barks.
We got some puppy barks. We're pet sitting.
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out to Morgan's dog Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy is super adorable too. Gosh, what is the worst piece of advice? Best piece of advice. I think the best piece of advice and something that I've taken to heart is just keep learning. Like, never stop learning. Never, like, thank God for Google that we can look up everything. I am very shocked at the folks who don't, like, just open the search bar and figure it out. Or like, people will be like, will ask me, how'd you figure out how to do that? I was like, I don't know. I spent like 20 minutes looking up a YouTube video that showed me how to do this. And now I'm being helpful and showing you how to do it. But also, you could have done it. You know, done the same thing as me. So like, always be learning, always expand your mind. Never. And I think based like on what we do in marketing too, like, the strategies that worked like 5 years ago don't work now. And you have to keep learning what works. And if you don't, you won't succeed, because you won't be evolving to the current and present times. And I feel like that's how a lot of places go out of business, because they don't adapt and they don't learn. So I think that was the best advice. It's that you will always be learning. The worst advice, actually, it's not really advice that I got, but it's appearance related things. So like, I was really pissed that I was almost fired over coloring my hair multiple colors, and was going to get like different duties and responsibilities stripped away from me at a corporate office because I chose to do that. But my like, the leader of my specific department was just like, I looked into it. You just can't have all over unnatural hair color. You know, if you like turn it back black, then it'll be fine. And I was just like, well, fuck that. I just got my hair rainbow colored. Like, I'm not coloring it all black. So I bought hair extensions, and I like straight up like tried to like put hair extensions everywhere. And by the end of it, I just literally had like one black streak going in my hair because I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to try to like change my hair every day. Has nothing to do with who I am as a person and my ability to work. And I was like, and I don't even liaise. Like this was prior to when we were on Zoom calls and stuff like that. I was like, nobody looks at me except all of you in this office. Like I'm not meeting with vendors. I'm not doing this. And so that was like the big, that was also like a big decision for me to like change and get out of corporate because it was just like, this is ridiculous.
And now that advice wouldn't serve you or your business because that's like so much part of you and your personality and your brand. And that's how you relate and connect to other people.
Yeah. It's because I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And like,
and you find people who also
have that same, because there was somebody who did, like I was at I was tabling at a place and somebody was just like, oh my God, I love that your hair is like all the same colors as your brand. And I was like, yes, you get it. You get me and what I'm trying to do. And then other people will be like, well, what if somebody doesn't like you because of that? And I was like, then they can walk away.
Yeah.
Like it's if you're a deterrent. Like,
if you don't like me for something about my appearance, I don't want to work with you anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and also at the same time, I'm just like, if I, like had a disability, like obviously I'm a woman of color too. It was just like, go away. Like, I don't care. You can do you. I don't need you in my space. And so, that is something that I take to heart now. It's just like the way we look has nothing to do with how we operate in the world. So,
I agree. I like that.
Okay. Now, since you ask this all the time, what is the best and or worst piece of advice you've ever received in your career?
Awesome. Well, I've already been thinking about it because I knew this question was going to be coming up. So, best piece of advice, and this, I mean, I think it relates to a lot of different things, and it kind of relates to what you said about learning too. But it was specifically given to me in the context of doing like discovery calls or like trying to like, connect with another potential client or even just like in networking. And they said that the best thing to do in those meetings is to just listen. And so, and I love that. And obviously like ask questions and things like that too. But I think in the heavily male dominated world that I was in previously, in a lot of my jobs in that industry, the advice of selling and like, trying to get out there was like to be really big and loud and talk and domineering and have like a lot of these like really big presentations and just like overwhelm them with facts and information. And I just remember going into like pitch meetings and stuff like that were, they were always so stressful to me because it was not my vibe. It was not anything that I was just not very into that. And I don't operate that way even to this day. And so kind of going into my own and like, being trusted to do things on my own, even before I went off, it was like with discovery calls, with potential clients, with prospects, with potential donors, whatever it was listen. And listen to what they are saying they want. Listen to what their problems are. And because when you listen and you're not constantly thinking of how do I respond to this? How do I like have like, like an immediate like response to what they're saying? When you sit there and you listen, you get them talking more and you get to the meat of what they actually want. Oftentimes when a prospective client, when somebody comes to you for something, they'll say that they're coming for one thing, but often it's something completely different. Or they'll say they know what the problem is, but that's not actually the problem, that's a symptom. And so, that was the best advice that I've gotten. And I've used that to this day to really kind of get at the heart of what people need. The worst advice, and this, I've been holding on to this. I've been really excited to share this one. This is in terms of managing a team. And it was my previous boss who I, worked my way up to the leadership team. And he told me that I should always be the first one in and the first one out. And that I should always be showing my team what it's like to constantly be working. And I should be, if I'm working from home, I should be telling my team about like how I worked through the weekend and all that stuff.
Oh.
And that just promoted a really toxic culture. And I've actually seen it even in like clients. I've seen there's a recent client I'm thinking of who was the same way, and who would just talk all the time about how much work they were doing. And like, while I understand what they were getting at of like, you know, don't let your team work harder than you, I do kind of get that point of it. What I don't think was helpful was encouraging everyone to be working around the clock, to burn out, and to not have any fucking boundaries. And so that, I think, was probably the worst advice. And that advice bled into so many other areas too. And it just really promoted a toxic culture. And so even though I currently am not running a team, I'm still trying to embody the leader that I want to be. So if I ever did have a team,
you would operate.
I would operate differently. Yeah. And also treat myself differently, you know?
Yeah. I know, we both have a horrible boss sometimes.
Truly. I am really mean to myself though sometimes. So like, I probably am meaner to myself than any other bully or boss that I've ever had. I say the meanest things to myself in my head. And I'm going to just loop this back around to what a recent guest said, which was to control your thoughts. I'm actually blanking on who said that.
I think it was Clay Beeman.
Oh, you're right. It was. So thank you for saying that, because yes, control your thoughts. That was the thing that she wished she would have done sooner in her business. And I think that's a really important thing to do. And I'm definitely doing my best to be better at that. So.
I know our brains are really mean to us sometimes.
So mean. So mean.
They make up all these reasons. All these negative things. Yeah.
I love that. Well, jumping off onto like another hot seat question, I want to know, this just randomly came to me. What is, because I know you keep up with all the marketing, social media trends, stuff like that. What is a trend going around right now? It could be social media. It could be just like how businesses are doing things that you think is, that you don't like, that is a pet peeve, or is something that you think is kind of harmful.
So one thing, like, so I don't mind the use of AI. What I think is really harmful for people right now is they're not reading what it spits out. So, you know, I see all of these things like, get your marketing done faster. And I fully use AI, but damn, I got to edit that shit. I have to look through it. I have to make sure it's saying the correct things. And it really, I mean, it is a great tool, but it depends on what you feed it.
Yeah.
You know, and what you're putting in there. So like crap in, crap out, you know? And so, yeah, I think that I'm definitely watching people move really quickly and not double checking what they're sending, or they're using a template. And I'm like, I need to do better at this. Because I sign up for a lot of people's newsletters, and I'm like, yo, you were using the same formula, and that it just feels so generic to me. Like, it's not you. So one of the things that I've been really proud of myself for doing is I have been writing newsletters that are like deeply personal and like things that I'm reflecting on. And I feel, well, and you always are really good about being like, yay, and like messaging me back about it. And I do get messages from people back about it, but like being authentic and like actually creating something that comes from you as opposed to a template or like an AI generated something is going to get you a lot further. And not I mean, like half these people, I'm like, who are you? I don't even know what you're selling or what you're doing, because you're spitting out the same thing that 5 other people are. And so what is valuable about what you're giving me? Nothing. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think it goes to show you, like, I mean, while I don't agree that we should get rid of AI in every situation, I do think that there is a piece to AI that people are forgetting about, which is that human element. Like, we're human, so talk to us like we're human. And you can't replicate creativity and art through a robot.
Totally.
And so while AI has a place, I do think it has a place in a lot of different worlds and a lot of different industries. It does help things be more efficient. It can help, make more efficient processes. It can help outline. It can help spark ideas. It can help, check grammar and spelling. Like it can do a lot of things to just, though, rely on it to be your creative outlet to churn out content like crazy. I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where that's going to be helpful long term, because again, it's missing that human element. And you and I can tell, like everybody can tell when things are being written by AI all the time. Yeah. Like it's pretty obvious.
Perfect. It's a little, it just doesn't have like life to it.
No.
Yeah. And it doesn't take much.
No.
I just say, read it and infuse you in it. If you want to even have it get, 70-80% of the way there,
and then you finish it. Yeah. Making sure you know yourself and your brand well enough to be able to do that. So if you're going to use AI as a support system, use it right.
Yeah. Although I have actually, when I was in Cincinnati the other weekend, there are a lot of interesting ways that I'm seeing people use AI. So another agency owner was telling me that they have been creating wikis about their clients, because
that's kind of fun.
Yeah. So the two kind of leaders of the organization are, the primary salespeople and the folks who work day to day with the clients. Well, they've been helping their teams by, and the AI is set up that they can ask, like, who do I contact at this client? Or like, what are the last 5 campaigns from this client and what were the results? Loading all those kinds of different things in there, and then talking to the AI and like asking it questions so that they don't have to come to the 2 leaders. And I'm like, that is brilliant. That is really cool to be able to set up.
That's really smart.
So yeah, it is a great tool, but I feel like the use case is really important. And then also like how we're leveraging different information with it as well. And also get the paid version. It's so much better than the free.
Absolutely.
As well.
Agree with that.
Okay. I want to ask now, how did you come up with the name for your business?
That's a really great question. Okay. So I've always liked the word imagine. I don't actually know. I don't have like a really big grand reason why. I think I've always been an imaginative. Wow. That was a hard word. Kid. And I've always had like really vivid daydreams and stuff like that. And so I've always really been, inspired by that word, just like being able to imagine like new realities, new perspectives, new things. And when I was in my early 20s, I got a tattoo on my back, and it's a sunflower. I really like sunflowers. And so I didn't mean to go this hippie, I promise, but it just kind of happened. It's a sunflower, and the stem, instead of like a straight stem, the stem is the word imagine. And so I've just always been obsessed with that word. And when it came time to start my own business and like going through names, I remember like really struggling, like, I don't know what to call this. And I was just kind of like talking it through with my husband. And I like one day was like, I love the word imagine. I have it like on everything. Like I had it like on my wall. Like I'm like,
it's
maybe it needs to be
very meta.
Yeah. And it didn't necessarily mean to be, it just was. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of like imagining a new life for myself, and I'm helping clients imagine new realities for themselves as well. Like, I think that's a good way. Yeah. And then it just kind of evolved from there. And then I was like, I need to have the word marketing in it. And then I ended up with strategies, because ultimately at the end of the day, like, that's what I do. I help you with your strategies more than anything. I help you figure out a better way forward. And so, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, then I'm just going to spiral off of that. And I want to know why you chose your name.
So Ashbean PDX is my gamer handle. Like if you play video games, if you try to get that handle on anything, I usually grab it first. And then I don't even remember when. 4 years before, I think it was 4 years. 4 years before I started my business, I bought the domain. ashbeanpdx.com. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but I'm just going to own it because ashland.com was taken. And so I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to claim. And then 4 years later, I started the business and I had a domain and I just used it. And so I did ashbeanpdx marketing. I'm actually going to drop the marketing part and it's just going to be ashbeanpdx moving forward. But yeah, it is me, and I didn't want a business named my name, although it's really fucking confusing when you tell people your email, Ashlan@ashbeanpdx.com, and then have to like spell it for people. They're like, wait, what? I was like, the first part is this, and then it's the @ symbol, and then yes, it is the same 3 letters again. But yeah, and then my nickname. So I had a friend we were in college together. She used to just nickname everybody like the first 3 letters of their name and then Bean. And so that's where Ash Bean came from. And then I think I ended up adding the PDX at the end because Ash Bean was actually taken on whatever platform it was. And so I was just kind of stuck with it. And so
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
We have great names.
Yeah. Very memorable names.
Very
honestly. Yeah.
Well, we are getting to the end of our time, so we should probably wrap up with these playlist questions.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. It's my turn to ask you.
Yeah, you go.
What's on repeat on your playlist right now?
Okay, well, I have a lot of kids songs because I have a kid.
Yeah.
So right now, it's the Moana soundtrack, specifically the first one. And the songs that we listen to the most are, he calls it Make Way, but it's like that one where they're singing in the beginning about like how she needs to stay on the village. Because there's this part in the song where they go, make way, make way. So he calls it Make Way. I don't remember the real name. I think Where You Are or something like that. Yeah. So that's the one specifically that comes to mind that's been on repeat. Nice. I'm really into Chapel Roan. I can't stop. Like, there's like heroin in her. Yeah. I think she has a new single out.
Okay,
yeah.
I gotta look it up then.
So good.
Yeah.
It's like she injected drugs into these songs because I can't stop listening to them.
That's great.
And he doesn't really know what they mean, so I can just play them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a very basic answer, but that's
what's on
that's my
repeat
answer.
on your playlist right now.
It is an honest answer.
Yeah.
What about you?
So recently, my husband, I had like the upgrade for Apple Music to be on multiple different devices. So I put it because my husband started playing poker in person again. So he has it on his phone now. And so I've been loving when he discovers like music that is not what I would normally do. There is a remixed version of Wonderwall, like an electronic remix of Wonderwall that is really, really good. I don't even know who it is, but like every once in a while I'll look on there and be like, ooh, he added new songs to it because I taught him how to add things so we'd be able to find it again, and it's really good. I'll let you listen to it later today.
Okay.
It's well done. But yeah, so that has been on repeat because it's kind of at like the top of the list as well.
I love that.
Yeah, and I've been enjoying just Apple Music's suggestions and recommendations.
I know. Like, Spotify does the same thing. Like, I love sometimes just hearing new artists that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching us, we're going to give each other a hug again one more time. Oh, I'm so happy you're here.
I see her every time I come to
I know.
Because she's here,
Makes me
really
so happy. Makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you have any questions, like always, feel free to shoot us an Instagram DM, or you can email us at aloha@taketheleap-today.com. And thanks for listening to our stories today. And this is the end of season 2, yeah?
Yeah.
This is the end of season 2. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Or, nope. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Take the Leap podcast. We hope you found useful takeaways you can apply to your entrepreneurial journey. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and keep in touch and follow us on Instagram. If you have business questions, shoot us a direct message or leave us a comment. We'll try to cover it in an upcoming episode. And visit our website, taketheleap-today.com, for more resources like our online course that accompanies this podcast.